All right, burgeoning viewers, one quick note for you. A subscriber a day in October. If we hit 31 subscribers in 31 days, one lucky subscriber will walk away with the entire Modern Horizons art card series. Additionally, a comment a day. Any subscriber that leaves a comment in every video posted by MTG Burgeoning during the month of October will become eligible for the November Pack Wars. On November 1st, a list of all subscribers that left a comment on every MTG Burgeoning video during the month of October will be compiled, and from this list, one subscriber will be randomly chosen to participate in the November Pack Wars. So hope for peace, but prepare for war. What's up, MTG Burgeoning community and YouTube viewers? If you are part of the latter and wish to join the former, click that subscribe button right now. In today's video, we're going to continue our budget build with Isamaru, Hound of Konda. Welcome back, everybody. MTG Burgeoning here, and we are back, and we are looking to finish up our budget EDH commander build of Isamaru, Hound of Konda. So, to get you up to speed, if you missed any of the videos prior to today's video, you can click on the links below to bring you up to speed, and we're going to speed through the cards that we've already included into this deck. Beginning with Sigarda's Aid, SRAM, Senior Edificer, Danitha Capuchin, Paragon, Pure Steel Paladin, Mesa Enchantress, Open the Armory, Open the Vaults, Argivian Find, Sun Titan, All That Glitters, Hero's Blade, Gift of Immortality, Grafted Wargear, Ronin War Club, Blackblade Reforged, Stratus Scythe, Luxodon Warhammer, Helm of the Gods, Mirror Shield, Trailblazer's Boots, Prowler's Helm, Haunted Cloak, Chariot of Victory, Fire Shrieker, Armored Ascension, Ethereal Armor, Spirit Mantle, Hyena Umbra, Blessing, Griff's Boon, Sentinel's Eyes, Asha's Favor, Unquestioned Authority, Flicker Form, Inviolability, Spirit Loop, Aven Mind Sensor, Containment Priest, Bounty Agent, Hushwing Griff, Tithe Taker, Kinjali Sunwing, Tomek Distinguished Advocate, Bygone Bishop, Remorseful Cleric, Knight of the White Orchid, Mentor of the Meek, Silverblade Paladin. So as I said, you can click on any of the links below to get a more detailed explanation as to the relevance of these inclusions. We've been adding cards to this deck 12 at a time, starting with the 12 core cards that will comprise, the nucleus of our deck. Then we transition to 12 equipment spells, 12 order spells, 12 creature spells. And now here we are with the last of our cards added to this deck prior to the installation of the mana base, being some ramp spells, some removal spells, maybe some recursion, or some card advantage spells. And again, since this is a budget build, we've been maintaining a pretty low budget. So far on average, we have less than, I think we're under $1 per card so far. We can click on the tappedout.net page to find out exactly where we are with the budget at this moment. Okay, so here we have the next 12 cards to bring our deck total up to 60, not including our commander. So here is number 1, Gift of Estates. 1 and a white. It's a sorcery. If an opponent has more lands than us, we search our library for up to 3 plains cards, reveal them, and put them into our hand, then shuffle your library. Shocking it is to me that this card is so cheap. We're in mono white, so there's going to be multiple opponents that will have more lands on the battlefield than we do. And the fact that we can search for 3 plains cards, which does not just limit us to basic lands, they can have any plains subtype in any of the lands we seek out with Gift of Estates and bring them right to our hand. And we set up land drops for the next 3 consecutive turns. Gift of Estates is a great addition for our deck. And that is the first card we're adding in this subset of cards. All right, next up we have Mind Stone. Artifact that costs 2 to cast. We can tap it for 1 colorless or generic mana. And we can tap 1, tap it, sacrifice it, and draw a card. So we're going to start getting into a subset of cards here where we can add mana and draw cards. So Mind Stone is a great addition to our deck because it provides us mana ramp, and if needed, we can sacrifice it to draw a card. Speaking of which, number 3 is Commander Sphere. For 3, we have a mana rock that can tap to add 1 mana of any color in our commander's color identity. For the purposes of this mono white deck, it'll be a plains. It'll add 1 white. And then we can sacrifice Commander Sphere to draw a card. We don't have to tap anything. We don't even have to tap the Commander Sphere. We can just sacrifice it and draw a card. Okay. And that is Commander Sphere. So it's pretty similar to what a Mind Stone is. And next up, number 4, we have Burnished Heart. 3 to cast. We get a 2/2 elk that we can tap 3 and sacrifice to search our library for up to 2 basic land cards and put them onto the battlefield tapped. So we put down the elk, maybe chump block with it, maybe swing in for a couple points of damage here and there, and then eventually we tap 3, we sack it, and put 2 plains into play tapped. Burnished Heart is another ramp card for us. All right, next up, number 5, we're going to start sliding into our removal spells. And we're going to start with a couple of targeted removal spells before we move into some board wipe. And we'll italicize that, but we'll cross that bridge once we get there. Let's start with Oblivion Ring. 2 and a white. When Oblivion Ring enters the battlefield, exile another target non-land permanent. When Oblivion Ring leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to the battlefield under its owner's control. This is a much more preferable targeted removal spell than something like Banishing Light. Because of the way in which Oblivion Ring is worded, if we cast Oblivion Ring, have it hit the battlefield and put its trigger on the stack, we maintain priority, and then we use one of our own targeted removal spells to get rid of Oblivion Ring, either returning it to our hand, our deck, exiling it, or destroying it, then the permanent that the Oblivion Ring targets, it gets exiled, and then it will stay exiled because the second trigger will never hit the stack. So Oblivion Ring does what Banishing Light cannot do, and that's why it's in this deck and preferred over the Banishing Light. All right, next up we have Oblation. 2 and a white. The owner of target non-land permanent shuffles it into his or her library, then draws 2 cards. So for the purposes of clarity, we could use this on one of our own non-land permanents and draw 2 cards. It's important for us in a budget build to include any kind of spot targeted removal that can get rid of any non-land permanent, not something specific like destroy target creature, or do something to target artifact, or do something to target planeswalker. We want to be able to have versatile removal spells that can target any non-land permanent. And Oblation, although it could reward our opponent with a couple of cards in hand, which is not optimal, still, sometimes it's definitely worth making that exchange when there's a problematic permanent on the battlefield. All right, so we're at the halfway point of this subset of cards. Spot removal number 7, Unexpectedly Absent. X and double white, we put target non-land permanent into its owner's library just beneath the top X cards of that library. So although we could target a commander with this, there's no longer the tuck rule, so the commander would most likely just be returned to the command zone. However, if we read a little bit more closely what this text is indicating, put target non-land permanent into its owner's library. Notice that it doesn't say put target non-land permanent on an opponent controls. So we could technically tap double white, making X0, target one of our non-land permanents, and put that right on top of our deck. So this is another very versatile removal protection spell, similar to Oblation, that we can use and include in our deck. And unexpectedly absent is unexpectedly very, very cheap. No puns in, all puns intended. We're gonna own that, baby. All puns intended. All right, so now we'll transition away from our targeted removal and look at some of our quote-unquote board wipes. And the first one is going to be Divine Reckoning. 2 and double white. Each player chooses a creature he or she controls, destroy the rest. For a Voltron strategy, a removal spell like Divine Reckoning is perfect because we're looking to just create one massive creature that's nearly unstoppable. Our opponents may not be expecting to do the same thing. They may be going tribal, they might be going tokens, they may just have a bunch of biggins out there. If we are able to force our opponents to keep just one creature on their battlefield, the chances are that our commander, with all of the equipment attached and all of the auras enchanting it, is going to outclass that creature. And as a bonus, for 5 and double white, Divine Reckoning has flashback, so we could cast it twice. Value. And next up from the board wipe category, we have Single Combat. Alright, so we got 3 and double white. This rare from War of the Spark reads, each player chooses a creature or planeswalker they control, then sacrifices the rest. Players can't cast creature or planeswalker spells until the end of our next turn. So again, similar to what Divine Reckoning does, Single Combat puts the onus on 1v1 creature combat. And again, we're including this spell under the understanding that Isamaru is going to outclass any other single creature that our opponents have. And that's why it's included in this deck. All right, we're 75% done with this subset of 12. Next up is number 10, and we're going back to some targeted removal. And that's going to be with Crush Contraband. 3 and a white, we choose one or both. We exile target artifact or we exile target enchantment. Now, if we weren't in a budget build, it's more likely that we would lean towards Return to Dust. Return to Dust is 2 and 2 white, and we exile target artifact or enchantment. But if we cast that spell during our main phase, we can exile an additional artifact or enchantment. So Crush Contraband gives us a little bit more independence because we can cast it at any point during anyone's turn throughout a game. And we have to choose either target artifact or target enchantment or one of each. The downside being we can't choose 2 target artifacts or 2 target enchantments. But still, Crush Contraband at less than 10% the fiscal value of Return to Dust is a much pleasing consolation for not including Return to Dust. All right, so now let's add a recursion spell for our Equipment's Aura-themed deck by including an Eldritch Moon favorite, Ironclad Slayer. 2 and a white, it's a 3/2 human warrior, and when it enters the battlefield, we may return target aura or equipment card from our graveyard to our hand. Just like that, Ironclad Slayer brings back something from our graveyard. And that's exactly what we were looking to get done. All right, and here we go. Card number 12. This one doesn't necessarily fit in the realm of ramp, or in removal, or in recursion, or even in board wipes or anything like that. But it is a spell that is so versatile and so wonderfully, hitting the camera here. That's how pumped up I am about this last card. so valuable for its versatility that we just have to fit it in either way. And that card is Dawn Charm. For 1 and a white, we get to pick one of the following 3 modes. And what makes this charm so good and so valuable is that every one of these 3 modes is very relevant to our format and very relevant to what we're trying to accomplish. Mode 1, prevent all combat damage that will be dealt this turn. A fog effect. We pretty much have a white fog. Being a Voltron strategy, we could be susceptible to large armies, token creatures, lots of multiples of waves of attackers. Having a fog effect could mean the difference between dying or getting one more turn to sneak in some lethal commander damage. Mode 2, regenerate target creature. Again, if we're running Voltron, we're going to want to make sure we keep our commander on the battlefield as much as possible. And if he's targeted for destruction, if there's a board wipe, we can cast Dawn Charm, pick the second mode, and keep Isamaru on the battlefield. And then finally, mode 3, counter target spell that targets us. This is one of those things where it's like target player sacrifices a creature. Target player exiles a creature he or she controls, or something like that. Something targeting us that would spell, short-term doom for our general or commander, sending it back to the command zone. And those 3 modes are just so versatile that including Dawn Charm is just something that we have to do, and we got to put it in. There's just no other way around it. So those are the 12 spells that we left off with in last week's video. And these 12 spells, as we tried to impose a budget of $10 for these 12 removal spells, and it comes in at a total of $5.62. So we were definitely way under our budget for these 12 spells. And that's it, folks. Next week, we install our mana base. And as we are mono white and budget, we're predominantly going to run just a bunch of plains, some basic plains. However, we do have some room to fit in a few non-basic lands, but let's keep the cost down there because we want to make sure we keep the overall budget of this deck as low as possible. So let's say we got, room for maybe 5-6 non-basic lands and our dozens of plains that we're including. So let's keep the budget at under $5. If you have any suggestions as to non-basic lands that you think would be a good fit in this budget build, leave some suggestions down in the comment section below or on our tappedout.net page. Folks, this is MTG Burgeoning, and we are budget building Isamaru Hound of Konda, and we are almost done. Want to become a Pack Wars combatant? 4 easy steps. Step number 1. Click on the link below in the description or go to www.buymeacoffee.com/MTG Burgeoning. Step number 2. Select either membership or support. Membership will enroll you into Pack Wars for $5 each month. Support will cost $5 for 1 month. Step number 3, complete payment information. The name you use will appear on the site. Use your real name, use your YouTube handle, or use no name at all and be anonymous. Be sure to include your email address in the information. Step number 4, most importantly, prepare for war.